What's up, guys? Today we will be looking at the 17 Pro Max versus the 10 Pro XL, and let's go ahead and just talk about my experience with these two phones. And I just want to highlight what both of these phones do really well here. And this is typically the brand that people who are kind of like want to try Android, they typically go to a Pixel, and it's actually the brand that I recommend. So let's go ahead and dive in. So first off, I think the hardware on the 10 Pro XL looks a lot better than on the iPhone. I'm not a big fan of how Apple did the camera design this year. I just don't think it looks great. I do like that they went with the two-tone design, but yeah, it just hasn't grown on me at all. The Pixel to me just looks so much better. And they both have that matte finish, and they're actually both extremely comfortable to hold. So that is one thing that I like about both of these phones, and they actually are about the same weight. So the Pixel coming in at 232 grams, the iPhone at 233. So they pretty much feel the same in terms of weight. But yeah, I think the Pixel looks just way better. It's one of my favorite looking phones here. You do have that glossy kind of finish on the Pixel, which can pick up fingerprints. The iPhone does have that, matte finish, which does not pick up fingerprints, which is nice. And yeah, I would say hardware-wise, they actually feel extremely similar. The amount of times I picked this phone up thinking it was the iPhone is crazy. So they're both IP68 dust and water resistant. And yeah, the iPhone used to have titanium, now it's in aluminum. And they're both glass and metal phones, so they both have that premium feel to it. But that is, pretty much it for the hardware. So let's talk about the displays here. Which phone has the better panel here? So the 17 Pro Max has a 6.9-inch display. It's LTPO Retina XDR OLED. It's 120 hertz, and then it is 3000 nits at its max brightness. And then we have a very nice screen to body ratio, about 90.7%. It is 1320 by 2868. It's 460 for the PPI, and it has a really nice feature that the Pixel does not have. It has the anti-reflection coating. So as you guys can see, it's not quite as good as Samsung's anti-reflection coating, but it is, a noticeable difference here for sure. The iPhone screen looks great. It's got extremely thin bezels. My only issue with this display is I'm not a big fan of the dynamic island. It's something that I rarely use. And I just feel like it's taking up space. It's, where they house the Face ID, which, I understand, but it's just something that I don't necessarily like. And the Pixel also has a similar size display. It's LTPO OLED at 6.8 inches. It's also 120 hertz HDR10 plus, and this one comes in at 3300 nits peak brightness. They both pretty much look the same in outdoors in terms of brightness. You can see them both very well, but the Pixel doesn't have the super slim bezels like the iPhone. They're slim, but they're not as slim as the iPhone. So the iPhone screen kind of looks a little bit more premium or edge to edge. And the Pixel is coming in at 88% screen to body ratio at 1344 by 2992. This is 486 for the PPI. The colors look really great on the Pixel and on the iPhone. Honestly, I think that the iPhone does have a slight edge with the display because of the slimmer bezels and the anti-reflection coating. Is just something that I just personally really like. But my only thing is that I do like the Pixel because we have the smaller punch hole. It's something that I like when watching content. I really don't like Apple's, their dynamic island when I'm trying to watch content full screen. But I mean, honestly, both screens are very nice. They're both very sharp when you look up close, the icons and everything. So I do want to talk about performance here. So this is a very interesting, topic here, and it really depends on what type of person you are, because as you guys can see with the benchmarks here, with the Geekbench 6 benchmarks, you can see the Pixel is, slower than the iPhone. You see almost 6,500 versus almost 10,000 score. And if we go into our 3D Mark test here, you can see the iPhone also is going to do a much better job in graphics performance. So the Pixel has the Tensor G5 processor. It will get 7 years of majorOS updates and 256 gigs of internal storage and 16 gigs of RAM. The iPhone has the Apple A19 Pro chipset. It also is, of course, running iOS 26, and then we get 256 gigs on the base model and 12 gigs of RAM as well. See general performance, I think that both phones do a really good job with animations. Now, even though the benchmarks say one thing, the Pixel is extremely smooth. But I would say if you're more of a power user, and not even necessarily a power user, if you're somebody that games a lot, then you're 100% gonna go with the iPhone. It's a lot better optimized in this Tensor chipset. And as you guys can see, opening and closing applications, scrolling and swiping is very good on both of these phones. But the iPhone is definitely going to be a little bit faster when getting into these apps, maybe like a second or two faster. So that is, the thing here that you'll see. But how most people use their phones, it's not really going to feel that different, in my opinion. It'll feel, like I said, pretty similar for the most part. And a lot of these social media apps, it'll just open almost at identical speeds. Boom. So yeah, I don't have any heating issues with the Pixel. It's just a tad bit slower than the iPhone here. And basically, it's nothing to really worry about because you really won't notice unless you put them side by side. But here's where you will kind of notice here when we get into like gaming. Example of this would be PUBG. As you guys can see, it's limited to 60 frames. And again, if you're not a gamer and you just come in here and you just play, a match or two of PUBG, it does perfectly fine. It's not overheating, and it's not, it's not a big deal, right? It does a pretty good job. But with the iPhone, it just does a much better job. So again, this is where the Pixel can be a little bit limited. And plus, when we start talking about things like video rendering, it's going to be a lot faster on the iPhone. Stuff like that, you can see we can play at 120 frames. And again, most people aren't doing competitive gaming on their phones, but if you are, then it's something that you need to know, right? But yeah, I would say the iPhone is for sure the more powerful chipset, as we saw in the benchmarks, and it's just better optimized for a lot of these games. So yeah, I do want to talk about the AI. So the Pixel has much better AI. So if you are someone who is really interested in AI, it is way better. And you have similar features on here, like they have their version of circle to search. If you press the camera control button, you can take a picture and it'll basically, search Google, or you could ask it a question. But even the circle to search is better at that. So basically, the best way I can describe it is like, because I use both assistants, the Apple AI is just really difficult to get basic answers out of. How much does the iPhone 17 Pro Max 1 terabyte cost?
Pro Max with 1 terabyte, 1 TB of storage is typically $1,599 at the time of its release. This price is consistently shown by multiple retailers and Apple's own store.
All right, so we asked the iPhone the same question. How much does the iPhone 17 Pro Max 1 terabyte cost? Can you tell me how much it cost? Can you tell me the price of the 1 terabyte version? Yeah, so it does this and then it takes you to ChatGPT. Like, it doesn't give you a straight answer. It just basically pulls up links. And then look at this. Which product are you asking about? The 1 terabyte version? That's exactly what I said. Like, let's talk about the speakers. I had to cut the video because the AI thing, I mean, it'll take you from like 0 to 10, man. I'm telling you. So let's check out the speakers. We're at max volume. All right, so we'll start with the 17 Pro Max. This is really close. Yeah, I would give it to the iPhone. It's super slight, but I think the iPhone has a slightly fuller sound to it. But it is super close, guys. Like I've always been impressed with Pixel speakers. They've always had really good speakers, but this speaker on the 17 Pro Max is really impressive this year. So I actually would give it to the 17 Pro Max there. One thing that you will really love about Android, and this is just one thing I really love, I'm not a fan of only having Face ID, which the iPhone has. It works, it's very secure. You have the option for Face Unlock on the Pixel, but the fingerprint scanner to ultrasonic, it works really well. My issue with Face ID is if I have if you have the iPhone like propped up like this, and you get a notification, you want to see like who's texting you or whatever, sometimes it won't register. And you have to kind of like pick the phone up or put the passcode in because it just won't work. I don't know why more people won't talk about that, but yeah, I just feel like the fingerprint scanner, you could just, if it doesn't work, your Face Unlock, you just tap it and then it goes in. Or at night, like sometimes you don't want to open both eyes and stuff like that. So it's very small stuff, I know, but I like having two options. It makes a lot more sense. Talk about the cameras. This is why a lot of people switch to Pixel phones, and I definitely see why. I'm a big fan of the Pixels. I record all my shorts, or I recorded most of my shorts with the Pixels throughout the years, and I just really like the cameras. So how the camera setup goes, it's a 50 megapixel standard on the Pixel, 48 megapixel periscope telephoto, and then you also do have 5 times optical zoom. This can actually go up to 100 times zooms. Google uses this kind of like cloud thing to be able to process it and kind of AI it, I guess, and make the image more viewable. So that's pretty cool. And you also have a 48 megapixel ultra wide. It also has 8K30 video with a 42 megapixel selfie that shoots in 4K 60. On the iPhone, we have a triple camera setup as well. They're all 48 megapixels. The periscope telephoto lens is also a 4 times optical, and this one gets you, some decent zoom. It's up to 40 times. And then we have 4K up to 120 frames with an 18 megapixel selfie that shoots in 4K 60 as well too. And I think the iPhone has a pretty cool feature that's kind of slept on, where it can, in this mode here, you can shoot landscape videos, which is pretty cool. So in portrait mode, you can shoot landscape. I think that's pretty cool. I like that. I think like everyone should adopt that. But check out the photos, check out the videos. Let me know what you guys think. As far as battery life goes, after using both these phones, I'm going to say that it really doesn't matter which phone you pick. I'm not like super crazy impressed with both of these phones. I can get through the day easily with both of these phones, but it's nothing like, it's not gonna be like shocking. The both the phones will get you through the day, right? Um, the Pixel has a pretty big battery. It's a 5,200 milliamp hour battery. Has 45-watt charging. It also has Qi 2 as well too, so you can actually use the MagSafe accessories on the Pixel, and that is 25 watts. And the iPhone also has a 4,823 milliamp hour battery. Of course, you have your Qi 2 wireless charging, and yeah. As far as like the, I don't know how this opened up, but as far as the overall battery experience, I would say you're getting easily over 6 hours of screen on time on both of these phones. Again, I'm a lighter user. I'm not gaming and stuff like that on my phones. But if I do have a day where I'm taking videos, GPS, I don't have an issue with the Pixel or the iPhone at all. They do a very good job in my opinion. So which phone are you guys picking? Be sure to let me know, and I will catch you guys in the next one. And also, I do want to mention there's two different battery configurations. So the eSIM only one is going to be a 5,088 milliamp on the 17 Pro Max as well too. But from what we've seen with benchmarks and battery tests, it doesn't really matter. But yeah, so thanks for watching, guys.